Before we start, a quick reminder to hit the subscribe button. Only 4% of my channel is subscribed. When it reaches 1,000 subscribers, I will release a special video. The first sign was a whisper in the void, an anomaly detected. First, an apology. The last chapter and ending of Planet Dirt was, well, not good, I admit it. I missed the mark. It got me to where I wanted to be, but the execution was lacking. So, when it goes into book format, that chapter will be rewritten into 3 chapters. And, as always, if you see any mistakes, let me know so I can correct them. I appreciate all the help. As some of you know, I have both dyslexia and ADHD, and I am not a native English speaker. With that said, let's begin. Book 3, Colony Dirt. Only one book remains after this. Adam didn't know how to start the day as he lay in bed. After the morning routine, he had a colony to deal with, a whole colony. Earth had sent 3 colony ships, and they had forgotten to tell him they had upgraded the ships, and now they each carried 750,000 people. So he had just gotten 2.25 million people from the Earth domain. How the hell did that happen? All the cities, including Hades, filled up quickly. Not all of these new people were humans, and that didn't even include those who already lived here. He just stared at the ceiling. Beside him, Evelyn slept. How she could sleep with all of this going on was beyond him. He decided he could at least get up. He could go outside and get some fresh air and watch the sunrise. He was sure it would rise soon. Cece was lying on her pillow, looking at him. She didn't move, but he knew she was watching everything in the house. Beast woke up and looked between him and the bed, then followed him through the door. Adam went to the kitchen, got a cup of coffee, and then went outside, only to find Cece waiting for him there. Adam smiled and looked up. He could see the 2 moons locked in an eternal dance. He remembered that when he first read the description of the planet and the moons, he had thought the moon had been split into half, but that was not it. He was looking at the 3-body problem in reality, and it worked. Jork had put sensors up there, and if they fell out of sync, then they had about an hour to fix it. Besides that, the night sky was dark, filled with stars and a weak white path. He realized something and looked at the watch. Chat-chem-em. He had not slept more than a few hours, but then he looked at the coffee in his hand and sighed. No point in going to bed again. He took another sip and walked inside and into his office. He might as well work and find out what they had done while he was preoccupied with the trial. Rox had told him that the judge had been working overtime, and they were still going over what damage she had done. She had freed Jargy Mutt and his pirates when she had taken control of the judicial system for the trial. That bastard who shot him was let go, damn it. He should have let Rox toss him out the airlock like his dad. In fact, she had emptied the prison, and a shuttle dropped in and took them away. When Sigsan found out, he had tracked it to the Konotava system, where he found the surviving members of the Laneren pirates and a few other pirates and slavers. They seemed to join in a conclave, and their main goal was to take out Adam. Adam read the report and then got the information of the Konotava system. It was part of Busker Union, and their biggest company was the Mapat Mega Corporation, which was part of the Mugga Corps conclave. Their main product was food production, and they used lots of slaves. He needed to turn them. He could not outcompete them. Mapat had several planets that only produced food, so he had to cut their workforce to make them more profitable with the need for fewer workers. He would have to ask Jork to work with his own farmers to find ways to solve that problem. He would have to tell Kira that Jargy Mutt was free and put a reward on his head. Vorts and Jork had been working with some engineers and managed to make an atmospheric shield that could be set at about 500 meters above ground, and they could raise it as the nitrogen level rose. It would take them 5 months to complete the current resources. They needed more personnel and equipment, which he now had in abundance. He just needed to talk to John Moe about it. Then, there was the matter of the aftermath of the trial. Mr. Nug said sales had gone through the roof, as had a request to move to Dirt. According to him, he would expect Dirt to have a population of 10 million within a year. Apparently, city buildings will be the main focus for the coming years. He looked at the number in shock, then stopped himself. 10 million was not many for a planet the size of Earth. There were cities with 10 million. Hell, Mars City alone had 50 million. Adam's problem was that his current city was built for around 1 million at most. He opened the city building program and checked the designs. Not even if the Haran and Tufans joined forces. There are just too many, Adam said. Humanity did in the Butcher War, Rox countered. We already have these rules and we're not alone in the Butcher War. Humanity might be strong, but we have limits, Adam said. Well, you are the only species that now has colonies in both the north and south parts of the galaxy. We have no idea about how big your empire is. That made Adam laugh, and he took the whiskey glass. Humanity is not an empire. We are thousands of nations who agree on a set of rules and have a joint galactic force we call the Marines. John, Mo belongs to a different nation than me. I thought humanity was united under one rule. You all seem to be unified. Adam almost burst out laughing at the thought. Do you want to know why humanity is so good at war? It's because we can't go a decade without some internal war. The Marines are mostly doing police work, keeping some nations as far apart from each other as possible, and we go to war for so many stupid reasons that the United Council looks forward to the next alien invasion, just to the humanity will for. 5 goddamn minutes stop fighting each other and united to fight somebody different. Rock smirked slightly, and Adam just knew what he would bring up. Well, it looks like you guys need Gallius as much as the rest of the galaxy. He is a chaos. Walker who brings peace, he said, winking, and then emptied his glass. We better find him then, because he sure as hell isn't around here. Excuse me, sir? A human knocked at the open office doorframe and they both looked at him. At least they thought it was human. Yes? Come in, Adam said, and the young man came in. He was dressed in a common suit, had dark tanned skin, and short black hair. Sorry for disturbing you. My name is Michael Syed, and I work with the entertainment department. We are looking over the files of the other species for tonight, Gala, and if it's frankly lacking, he said, and Rox looked at him and then at Adam, as he was getting curious about this human aspect. Adam saw it, invited Michael to sit while Rox poured him a drink and called up another chair to listen in. Michael looked at the drink, sniffed it, looked at Rox, and then at Adam. You don't need to drink. The Tufans culture doesn't demand it. Michael put the glass down and turned to Rox. Thank you for the offer, but I don't drink. Rox emptied his glass and then took Michael's. More for me, then. You don't drink or just don't drink whiskey? I don't drink alcohol for religious reasons, Michael said, and Rox looked at him confused. Then he shrugged. Do you drink anything else? Coffee is quite popular here, too. Coffee would be nice, he said, and Rox called in a maid droid. How do you like it? Rox asked. Cappuccino, he answered, and the maid immediately turned to get one. Knowing what to get, Rox looked at Adam. What's a cappuccino? He asked, and Adam just stared at him for a second. Are you serious now? Have you never checked the other settings on the coffee machine? I just wanted coffee from it, the other things sounded weird, Rox said, and Adam chuckled. It's a different type of coffee. Think of it like vodka, whiskey, and beer, all alcohol but different types. You should try them out. I thought you all had checked them out, Adam said, then turned to Michael, who patiently waited. Sorry about that. Okay, so what can I help you with? Adam said, and Michael smiled. Well, it's a grand gala, and we were looking over your file and saw that you wanted the Haran and Tufans next to each other, but also that they are the 2 most warring species in this sector, mostly fighting each other. Would not this invite trouble? There is alcohol involved, he said, and Rox grinned. Well, the most likely result is some rowdy jokes and insults ending with flirting, and then they will retreat to, well, they have a love-hate relationship. As long as neither side treats any of the different species that are under their care, we are safe, and they know where the line goes, Adam explained, and Michael jotted something down on a pad. Okay, what about the Gorts? They are your only aquatic species. How would they react to another aquatic species? And what do they eat? We don't know what to prepare for them. Don't worry about them. They can eat anything. They are a gelatine species, more like jellyfish, actually. Besides, you should just give every table a BFS so they can check, Rox said, and Michael looked confused. BFS? What is that? Biofood scanner, it's a universal scanner. They have it at all restaurants here. You get scanned as you enter, and all poisonous food is automatically removed from your menu. It's about the size of canned soda, Adam explained. And it's universal? Does it work on all species? The ones we have are species-specific, Michael replied. All scans you at a cellular level to cross-check the menus for anything that could harm your biology. You should talk to Vorts and York. They can explain it better and help provide you with them. As for Gort's attitude towards other aliens, I haven't heard them react negatively toward any. We do have a few amphibian species here, and they do not have trouble with them, Adam said. What about salt and capsaicin? Too much can be deadly, Michael asked. It only warns you if it would kill you or send you to the hospital. It will warn you if it should be too acidic, spicy, or salty, Adam explained, and Michael nodded and then looked at the pad, holding his thought for a moment. Out with it, it's the Dunchins, right? Rock said, and Adam chuckled. Yes, they are immortal, which makes them restless and chaotic. You won't be able to tell the difference between a young adult and a 5,000-year-old one. So you have to let you tell them who is too young to drink alcohol. The kids are easy enough to spot, and yes, all the kids are hyperactive if they stay with you for longer than 5 minutes, then you have impressed them. Adam smiled, and Michael nodded. Thank you. One last thing. Did you receive the information about the other species that came with us? Do you have any questions? Nah, but seeing how they will integrate will be interesting. Michael stood up, gave a bow, and left. Adam nodded back, and he left and looked at Rox. Well, he was not in the military, that's for sure. Rox said as Evelyn came in, and Adam smiled. Drink? Rox said, and held up the whiskey bottle, and Evelyn just looked at him. I'm pregnant, Rox. Adam was already up and walking. Over to her. No, I can't drink alcohol now. I'm just going to steal your boyfriend for lunch and get him ready for tonight's gala. Adam chuckled. Boyfriend? She just smiled as they walked out, leaving Rox with the whiskey bottle. He watched them leave and was about to go when he noticed something. There was an incoming alarm from one of the air controls. An unauthorized ship was approaching. He decided to head up and deal with it. When he got up, he found a fellow Tufon sitting there with a Gort he didn't know. The Gort looked like a Dushin with blue hair and tattooed skin. He sat down next to the Tufon. Ferd? What did you notice? Ferd nodded. He had bright orange hair and short spikes and a few scars around his neck area. It came in and immediately went dark, trying to glide into the Zanbo field unnoticed. Are you tracking it? Rox asked, and Ferd nodded and looked to the Gort. Put it up on the screen, Nidnod. He displayed the outer asteroid field on the screen, and then Nidnod accessed one of the numerous spy satellites Adam had placed there. Soon the ships appeared on the screen. One was a transport ship without visible damage. The scans showed low activity, but 12 biosignals were on board. Track it and send out a patrol, no send 2, hold the second patrol back to cover escape routes, and add a transporter to haul it to a base. Keep me updated on it. Those signals look like they are in cryo. Damn, who would use cryo sleep now? That's barbaric. It might be a ruse, so scan from a distance and see if it awakens anything. If not, bring them towards dirt, but keep them in a far orbit until we have the ship boarded. Keep me updated, Rox said, then got up. Oh, let me know where the ship is from. Hack the manifest. Then he left as he let the two work. He saw 2 security droids covering the door. There wouldn't be any new attack on the tower now, Adam. Sat with Evelyn, Miker, and Ski while Jork walked around looking at his pad. I still don't get it. How? I mean, this ship has been everywhere. There is tech on it that should not work. What's a Minarat truss damper? Minarat? That's a Karen engine part. He has one of those? Evelyn said, Did he work with them? She looked at Adam, who shook his head. No, he has been stealing parts to build his ship. The Karen? I remember he said something to Hicks about them. He came over a destroyed ship's right and went through it. Remember when he showed where on the map and Hicks was relived as you guys had been in that sector? Adam said as he looked up from the pad where Miker was showing him a cartoon. Ski shook her head. He has been like this since he got his hand on it. You almost missed my trial because of it. Adam said, and York stopped and looked at him. I'm sorry, man. I still don't know how to repay you, Jork said, and Adam just smiled. You are a free man now, and that's the only reward I want. Now I have to pay you for the work. Unless you want to quit and go home, Adam said, and Jork just looked at him. Home? He looked at Ski. Why would you ask that of me? Because if you're going to move on, you need permission from your late wife's parents, and you should visit her grave. I know you were not allowed to, so take your time. I will be here if you want to come back. You will always be welcome. Here, Adam said, and Jork walked over and put the tab on the table and kneeled in front of Adam. I will be back, my master. I will return and ask your permission to marry. Adam looked at Ski, who held her breath. She had just heard Jork ask permission to marry her, and if Adam agreed, then all Jork needed was permission from his late wife's parents, which he would easily obtain. Adam nodded. There is no need to ask, I grant it freely. Now stop calling me master, or you will get me in trouble again. Jork's face went from pure joy to pure panic. Then he got the joke and smiled. Now I know why Rox said you gave that merchant a heart attack. He stood up, and Ski stood up as well. Adam grabbed Miker. Come, let's go find some kids for you to play with. I think Daddy and Ski need some time alone. Evelyn looked at Adam with soft eyes as they walked out. You never stop helping people, do you? She said, and Adam shrugged. I'm just repaying him for the time Never mind. Evelyn just smiled as they walked to find a kindergarten, where they could play with other kids. They spent an hour before Ski and Jork came to find them. Miker was running around with several kids, trying to capture a Dunshin kindergarten teacher who was dancing around them while singing for them. They let Jork take over watching over Miker and went to Adam's quarters on Peritas to change and get ready. They enjoyed some private time before they finally managed to clean and dress up, then headed to New Macau and the biggest ballroom that had been turned into a large dining room. They could hear the noise from the inside of the room as they approached, and Adam looked at Evelyn. Are we late? We are on time, but I was told to keep you from getting here before 9. She winked as the door opened, and the room went deadly quiet as the spotlight found them. Everybody stood up as the light guided them toward a large round table in the middle of the room. As they walked in, they saw Marines and other alien soldiers lined up as honor guards. Adam felt a little nervous. Nobody was clapping or cheering. Instead, it felt more like a religious or royal procession. He looked at Evelyn, who seemed just as shocked. A butler droid showed them to the seat and indicated for them to sit. Adam looked around and weakly smiled. Please sit. When everybody had sat down, he helped Evelyn before sitting. John Moe sat a few seats away. You remembered to make a speech, right? Speech? Adam replied. Adam winked at John Moe, who recovered from his almost heart attack. Evelyn just gave Adam a look and then turned to John Moe. You know how he is. He loves these small jokes. I even got a cat now. I should have brought Cece so I could stroke her while making my dastardly plans, Adam said, and John Moe chuckled. She is white, right? And Adam nodded, then looked at Evelyn. See, he gets me. She just looked at him and then turned to Admiral Hicks. I'm so sorry, Admiral. You know what I'm dealing with. The Admiral just smiled as he looked over at Adam, who stood up looking around the room. None had touched the food. Adam lifted a glass and all followed him, and everybody followed suit. Welcome to my home. May the night bless us all with joy and happiness, and let's leave the chaos of the world behind us for just one night. Enjoy the meal. He drank the wine. Now, let's eat. There were polite but loud cheers said in many different languages, and then the food as the food was being served. John leaned over. Don't tell me that was your speech? Nah, I think I can string together something more later. Evelyn just looked between the two and then back to the Admiral as Adam and John Moe started to discuss movies they loved. Apparently, they had the same taste. Rox got involved, as Adam apparently forced him to watch with him. John came up with many suggestions, as did Adam. Ginny just watched them in amazement. She got into a discussion with the Admirals and Min Na when Ginny turned to her. Okay, why? I mean, why would you ask such a stupid thing? Remember Linda Parker? She convinced me to do it. I know, I was stupid. Very stupid. I should not have trusted that snake. She replied, and the Admiral looked at Evelyn. Are we talking about that Linda Parker? From the Semelite colony base? Yes, she replied, and Ginny looked between them. Well, spill it? Classified. Sorry. Admiral Hicks said, and Evelyn smiled slightly. It was not a nice smile, but Ginny knew not to ask anymore. Instead, they got involved in the different types of food and the small menu next to them, which was unique and made for each person present. Marcus was commenting about why he did not have the same on his menu as his wife. In fact, she had much more to choose from than her husband, father, and mother-in-law. Minna explained that they probably were allergic to something in that food. Then he showed them how to bring up an allergy list, which got John Moe to listen as he saw a business opportunity, and Mr. Nug jumped at the idea. Adam smiled as he looked around the table. He could not shake the feeling somebody was missing, but he saw everybody he cared for who could be there. Then his eyes stopped at Sigson, who just smiled, seemed to read his mind, looked around the table, and then held up 2 fingers. Adam shook his head. He looked around the room, then got up to people surprised and kissed Evelyn's light on the side. Check, excused himself, and walked out. Something was nagging on him, like an ache he could not get to. There was so much to worry about now, and he needed to remove one piece from his enemy's table. He would recruit one of theirs. He walked to the door and called over Archangel. Release Hindrin. Tell him he can leave or stay. If he stays, then he is invited to dine with us. Give him back his suit. The ship is still confiscated, but we can provide a ship for him if he needs it. Archangel light turned blue. Affirmative, as the orders were transmitted to a guard droid at the prison. Then Adam called over a maid droid and privately conversed with it before returning to the table. Evelyn looked at him strangely. What are you plotting now? Me? Plotting? Something. What would make you think I ever would be plotting anything? Everybody at the table just looked at him as he just smiled. Where is Cece when I need her? The table went back to their conversations as Adam looked at Evelyn. Life felt good. She was there, and he felt like he at least had an anchor in life. They were no longer young fools. She was grilling John Moe about girlfriends, and he told her he had none. He had no time for it. She looked at Adam and smiled. We need to introduce him to Kira. Where is she anyway? About 10 minutes. Away, Rock said, and she looked at him and then back to Adam. You didn't tell me? She looked at him curious. Why? What are you planning? Something that you told me long ago, just a little adjusted. Since we are not on Earth, I looked at him and then around the table at everybody who seemed to know something that she did not. They clearly had something planned. Adam looked at John Moe. Now might be a good idea for your speech. He nodded and put on some glasses that seemed to work like a teleprompter. Then they melted away and became invisible to the naked eye. He got up and walked to the middle of the room where a podium rose from the ground. It was about 5 meters in diameter. He looked around the room as people looked at him. Some thought he was Adam. Good evening. My name is John Muhammad Lee, the administrator of the colony ships, something that most of you already know. Today, I finish my duty as administrator and leave you all in the capable hands of Adam Wrangler, the owner of the solar system we are in, and the planet Dirt that we have arrived at. For those who came here before us, we thank you all for your hospitality, and on behalf of all of us, we will do our very best to repay the hospitality tenfold. They came here to find a new life and bring with them hope and a willingness to work. Earth wishes that this place will become a hope for a unified galaxy bound in trade, friendship, and peace. Adam worked hard to make Dirt livable and free his people from bounds. He was always willing to give everything up to achieve that. John turned to Adam. That's why you need Evelyn. She is your anchor, and she will keep you grounded when your mind flies through the stars with all your wild ideas. Adam grinned and gently squeezed her hand. Evelyn just smiled and winked. Some of the Dungeons started murmuring something about Galius's anchor. Adam ignored it. John continued his speech, unaware of the reaction from some of the aliens. Adam is a man of peace. In all my time knowing this man, I have only seen a man who is willing to do whatever it takes to bring about a peaceful solution. This man, who, as many might have guessed, is my brother. He is a man of peace. I know some people wanted him to join the diplomatic corps, but instead he tried to choose a simple life. to get away from it all and vanish into the universe. He chuckled at that, and the crowd laughed. Then John turned to Adam. Don't you know you can never hide from the universe? It has big plans for you. I know you want to have your little farm and just enjoy life with your loved one beside you. You may have that fate, but I know it will not be now. You have so much work to do. And why do I say this to you? Well, we are all here to help. Make the galaxy better. Stop hiding. You might not believe you can, but look around the room. You changed all their lives. Look at the planet. You definitely changed that. I know you are afraid that people might think you are Gallius. Yes, I know the world. But you forgot Gallius is also used on someone who brings any change for good, something you already have done. You have freed slaves, introduced a new way of doing things, brought knowledge from Earth that will improve life here, and given Earth knowledge that will improve our lives. As we would say, you are a Gallius, a changer, and an innovator. And that is something you cannot deny, my brother, like so many before and so many that will come after you. You have brought change, and you will bring more. So be a Gallius. Do you best to change this planet for the better. Just don't let it get to your head. He winked to Adam, who lifted his glass in a toast. A changer of the planet he could accept. Being the Gallius, he would never. Let the fools claim that title. Now, Dirt has become a human colony, with the protection and benefits that includes. Humanity thanks you for allowing us to come here and to open up a new part of the galaxy to the ever-expanding exchange of ideas, friendship, and trade. For traders, that means that Dirt will now be Earth's gateway point for this part of the galaxy. We are looking forward to doing business with you. There was some murmuring among the alien traders who had been invited to the party. Adam smiled as he knew what that meant. It meant a direct hyperplane between Dirt and the hub. Transport. Time would be reduced by at least a few days. The merchants, a few from some of the mega corporations that were more friendly to them, were all thinking of the opportunities. To conclude, I want to thank my brother for allowing us to join you on your little adventure. It just became so much bigger. But if there is one thing I know, it's that you will be able to carry your dream forward. I have seen the people you have surrounded yourself with, and I know you're in good hands. On behalf of Earth's government, I declare that Dirt is now its own country within Earth's United Colonies, and Adam is its owner. A maid droid brought John a glass that he lifted in a salute. The humans stood and the aliens looked at them and joined them. To Adam Wrangler and Colony Dirt, may they both succeed. The crowd joined in the salute, and Adam looked around. Shyly. He stood, put his hand on his heart, and bowed. I will do my best. John walked back to the table as a woman walked in from the entrance. She had heard the speech, but not seen who held it. She was dressed in a black cheongsam with a golden dragon and a high slit. Her beauty made many of the crowd just stare at her. Her silky long red hair was set up with a golden pin, and she moved with the grace of a tigress. Evelyn immediately got up as she saw her and walked to hug her. Kira? Wow. Are you trying to seduce my boyfriend again? Kira laughed. No, Adam told me I had to come and dress nicely. It was very important that I come. Evelyn escorted her back to the table, where a chair came up from the floor to add an extra seat. Kira greeted the people at the table and just stopped as she saw John Moe. Then she looked back at Adam and back at John. Does Adam have brothers? Yes, I do. And only one of them is single. Adam winked, and Evelyn grinned. John here is missing a date for tonight, right? Evelyn looked at John, who realized that was not a question, but more an order. John looked at the Admiral, who laughed. Don't look at me, my wife would kill me if I even spoke to her. What? Are you scared of me? Kira asked him, and everybody looked at him, and he laughed. Should I be? He replied, and Kira smiled, got up, and walked over to him. John made space for her, and she sat on the chair that appeared beside him. Evelyn was about to remove the chair next to her when Adam stopped her as he looked past the crowd at a man trying to sneak in and find a seat. A maid droid came to lead him to the main table. People looked at him. He had a humanoid look, almost bluish tint. It was clearly a mudskin suit, and Adam nodded to him. Thank you for joining us, Hindrin. I hope this means you are staying. Yes, I am. Sigsun held up 2 fingers, then lowered one, and Adam chuckled as Sigsun didn't know what he had just flipped him the bird. Adam leaned over to Evelyn. Do you think they will hit it off? Well, she needs a calm man, and he needs a volcano of a wife. The guilt that man carries. He said and smiled slightly. How do you feel? He turned his attention back to her, and his eyes darted down to her tummy, and she chuckled. They are fine, and I'm fine, so don't worry your little head, okay? She kissed his cheek lightly and leaned back to eat. Adam looked at her and could not help but ask. So, what did you do to Linda? She turned to him as she bit down on the beef and chewed as she studied him. When she swallowed, she seemed lost in thought, and she had a satisfying look on her face. It's classified, but let's just say I got my revenge and she won't be coming over for dinner. Adam looked at her, and he could see Evelyn had no regrets for whatever she had done. Strangely, he found himself not caring more about it. Instead, he looked around the table. He had his family here, his friends, even some of the few old ones he had. He wondered where the others were. They had their own lives now, and he had his new friends. He could see Jork and Ski having conversations with Vorts and Hara. Now and then they looked at the table next to them filled with children. They were having a blast with pizza, games, and everything they needed to keep their attention focused. Miker was happy as he sat there playing with the other kids. They had all been dressed up in tuxedos and fancy dresses. They were probably the best dressed table in the whole room. Rox was discussing with the admirals with his wife Kina, laughing at Rox's jokes. Minna was involved in the conversation, and it appeared that her husband knew of Rox from before. When Rox mentioned that Adam had been musing on holding war games, they all seemed to agree with the ideas. Noog, Sigson, and Hindrin were deep in a conversation about market routes and mega corporations, while Eris had moved next to Evelyn and was talking about parenthood. Apparently he had 2 adult children. Adam had to look twice when he said it. He looked young. Even Evelyn said so. Aris explained his race lived around 500 to 600 years, which was nothing compared to the immortal Dutians, who could only die from disease or violence. It was why they were so wild and careless, and finding an old Dutians was difficult, as most tend to die in stupid ways before they reach 200. It was interesting to listen to, but it was nearing time. He stood up, took a glass with him. As he stood, Rox noticed, patted his jacket to check something, and nodded. Adam winked at Evelyn. Just remember you asked for this. Then he walked to the stage as she looked confused after him. The lights dimmed when he reached the podium and a spotlight found him. He put the glass down on a stand that rose from the ground. Excuse me, I was hoping I could say a few words. Don't worry, you can continue to eat. Well, here goes. Hello everybody, I'm Adam. Welcome to my home. I hope you like it and want to stay. I sure have space for all of you and more. There was some polite chuckle at his joke. When I bought this system and left the administration office at the hub, I could hear them laugh as I left. They thought me a fool, and maybe I was. I probably still am. But I also had a dream. A dream. To make it work. Not to give up, but to make my own fate, my own destiny. It was a noble dream. It is a noble dream. But I had forgotten one thing. My dream was big, and I would never be able to do it alone. But then I meet Roxdell Mork, my guide and friend. With him, I learned more about this sector that I now call home. I helped him by buying his sister and her husband free from slavery. I bought them to free them. I have no need for slaves. I never wanted any, but fate had other plans. What started with trying to help 2 turned into trying to help thousands, and hopefully, many more. Together, we have brought life to Dirt. We have made Dirt not just a place of life, but a place of learning and wisdom. We have universities here, and more have applied for a section here. Well, we have space, and competition breeds innovation. Back on Earth, many universities competed to be the best, and I want the best one here on Dirt. Adam could see the professors agreeing and looking forward to the challenge. But Dirt is more than that. It produces some of the best androids in the section. As a courtesy of my good friend Jork Vert, we also produce ships and drones. So we truly are open for business. And if you want to try your luck, we have casinos where you can pray to Lady Luck. He picked up his glass and took a sip. And, yes, I have heard all of your rumors about me being that guy. No, I'm not. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I'm only human. And yes, I was made in a lab, like an exotic clone with 2 donors. You know, like all of us. He saw a Gortz and chuckled. Okay, most of us, my apologies. He looked around the crowd. And yes, I have freed slaves, but as you have seen, humanity freed all of you. My brother John Moe is then just as much him. Somebody shouted, "But you died!" Adam pinched the bridge of his nose as the humans and new arrivals started murmuring, trying to find out if Adam had died. No, I didn't die. I took a nap, and my wonderful fiancé woke me up. He smiled, and he looked toward the table where Evelyn was now missing, as was Kira. Adam smirked slightly. Don't worry, she will be back. He looked back to the crowd. What I wanted to say is only 3 things. First, welcome to Dirt. You're all welcome to stay. Secondly, we are open to business. Here, you will all be free and be given a chance to make your own destiny, just as I tried to. Thirdly, and lastly, I'm not him. I'm just a man who wants a good life for my friends. And family, speaking of family. When I was 19 years old, Evelyn told me that she wanted her wedding to be a surprise, so we will give her that surprise. Adam gently lifted his hands and the dimmed light became brighter. The room had changed entirely. The walls that had a soft golden shine now looked like purple marble, with the windows having been turned into giant stained glass pictures of the galaxy, with divinities peering down. Adam was amazed at how the nanolayer had managed to reshape the room from a ballroom to a wedding hall. Droids had moved in roses and other flower bouquets silently along the walls as he spoke. Keeping it hidden from Evelyn had been difficult, but he had managed. Along the red carpet that led from the exit, there were now lined up Marines in gala uniforms awaiting their major. Admiral Hicks walked down to him, Rox went over to Miker and lifted him up and carried him down to the podium. The other children hurried to the door, got the cute basket filled with flower petals. Adam was nervous now. It had been so much easier to plan this. The dinner had given him a reason to dress up like this, so she had not suspected when he had gotten out his best suit. But now, what if she was pissed? What if she had changed her mind? Then the door opened and the room turned silent as an angel walked into the room. An angel that seemed to cry tears of joy. Evelyn walked towards him with tears in her eyes. Adam tried hard to hide his tears. She had been the only one who had been able to get him out of his manic life, to live as a human, to feel human. Before her, the orphans didn't even feel human. There was always a divide between them and the natural-born humans. She made him realize they were all in the same boat. He wondered what would have happened had she not come into his life. Would he have turned hard and become what he had escaped from? As she walked past them, the soldiers went into attention, and the children took their job as flower boys and girls very seriously. Their little faces were so concentrated that they came and made a circle around the podium. Evelyn walked alone, up to the podium, and just smiled. In her hand was a bouquet of flowers that Vorts and Hara had personally picked, and then they had let a florist decorate. They were all local from Dirt. She looked into his eyes and whispered, "You remembered? But what about my parents? They are watching. I even asked your father for permission. He said, hell yes." He whispered back, and she noticed the small drone recording them as Adam took her hand and turned to Admiral Hicks, and he began to speak. When it was time for the rings, Rox gently pushed Merker up onto the podium. Miker held a red velvet pillow, with 2 white gold rings, and they had to kneel down to pick up the rings. Miker looked up at them with a big smile, and when his job was finished, he hugged Evelyn's leg. "Mommy?" he said, and then he skipped down to Jork and Ski. Ski blushed, and Evelyn just smiled and touched her tummy at the words, then looked at Adam. Adam leaned over and whispered something in her ear. Evelyn put a hand over her mouth, as she almost cried tears of joy at the tears of joy. Then he spoke. "My wife, you made me human. You have always been there when I needed you most. You have been my anchor and advisor. Without you, I would be a man wandering mindlessly in the desert of the universe. You are the one I would die for. Yet, when I do, you drag me back and shake some sense into me. I know I can succeed with you and know that when I'm old and gray, you will still sit next to me and enjoy the sunset. You are my soulmate. I love you. I always have and always will." Evelyn wiped away a tear. She had been looking into his eyes the whole time, holding his hand and being afraid to let go. My husband. Without you, I'm lost. I'm become an ice queen. When I made the worst mistake of my life, I cried for days. I wanted to run back, beg you for forgiveness, but I was lured away. I locked myself away. I turned myself into ice. No man would enter my life again. The war turned me even colder. Yet when your brother reached out and asked if I wanted to deliver goods to you, the ice melted. You are a part of me that can make me smile and give me hope, and I will not let you down. You fill the hole in my heart, and when I look at you, I cannot believe you still want me. You have my undying love and loyalty. And when the time comes, and we watch the last sunset, I will be by your side. I will never leave you. You are more than just my soulmate, you are my soul. I love you, Adam Wrangler. She finished with a deep breath. She had not had time to prepare any speech, and Adam would hear that later, but now she could only gaze into his eyes as Admiral Hicks said the words she had wanted to hear since she was 17. You may kiss the bride. Evelyn could not believe it as they sat at the table afterward. She was married. She was Evelyn Wrangler now, and had the most handsome, beautiful, and amazing husband in the whole universe. It just felt right, as if she had finally come home. Adam smiled at her and asked her what she was thinking about. She was about to say something when she noticed Rox getting really nervous in the corner of her eyes. Adam noticed too. "What's wrong?" Adam asked, and Rox sighed, took out a pad, and handed it to Adam. "The 13 ships are back," he replied, and they looked on the screen as 13 ships flew at a speed of light toward Dirt. They came from the dead zone. Both admirals got warnings as well, and Adam could see that they were getting nervous. "What do you mean by back?" Admiral Khan-Nan asked. "Oh, they showed up some time ago. You see, they are arriving from the dead zone. There is supposed to be nothing in that direction. As you know, Dirt is on the edge of the large desert or dead zone. They are coming from the inside. Might be smart to tell your men not to engage. Last time they only came to scan us, then gave us a compliment and promised to check up on us again. I'm more worried by their energy signals. That's a heavy dreadnought energy signal, but the size is barely bigger than a frigate," Admiral Hicks said, and Admiral Khan-Nan agreed. "We read plasma and neutron coils. They got more energy packed in there than a standard sun. Are you sure we should stand down? If they have those weapons, what would happen if one of those ships explodes? As long as they just scan, let them pass." Adam replied as the ships quickly flew to Dirt. There they spread, scanning different things around the system. But one ship simply slowly dove down towards New Macau and stopped right over the dome. Hovering silently, suddenly there was a small blinding light on the table in front of Adam and Evelyn, before it shot out through the atmosphere near light speed, turning into light speed as it passed it and vanished back into the dead zone. They had not even noticed the other had vanished. The room was deadly quiet as everybody was looking at the same thing. A small crystal box was on the table. The lid had a red silk bow and a card. Inside were 2 small tubes with something inside, and a black and white rose-like flower. Adam looked at the card and back at Evelyn, then opened it and read it before starting to laugh. Evelyn grabbed it from him and read it out loud. "Congratulations on your marriage. You sure took your time." Everybody looked confused, so Adam managed to control himself and replied, "It means they are monitoring us and they are not hostile. It's hope. There is somebody inside the dead zone who is not hostile to us and who is more technically advanced. Imagine if we could befriend them. What would it open up for us? Trade, technology, or exploration?" The hall was quiet for a few more seconds before everybody started talking, and Adam smiled at Evelyn. "Now let's celebrate." He took her hand and led her down to the floor to dance, leaving the admirals and table to debate what had just happened. Only the kids joined in the dance, much to Adam and Evelyn's delight. The next morning, they woke back home in the valley. Cece was sleeping on top of Beast, who had jumped up in the bed while they slept and slept at the end of the bed. Adam looked at Evelyn as she was still sleeping. He could not believe it. He was married now, a husband with kids on the way. He kissed her lightly and quietly, left the bed to make them breakfast. He snuck down to the kitchen and got the maid droid to help him make the breakfast, and got out the gift for Evelyn, a leather-bound book that Harold had added to the special cargo. It was in a box with a note that had said, "For Evelyn when the time is right." He looked at it one last time before putting it on the tray and carrying it up to the bedroom. The maid droid followed with a second board, and when they entered, Evelyn woke up stretching as she looked at them. "Morning, Mrs. Wrangler," Adam said, and she smiled at him. "Good morning, my husband," she replied as she sat up. Adam put the tray in the bed before her, and she looked at him amused. "Can I expect this treatment every morning now? You know you shouldn't spoil." She stopped as she saw the book. "Oliver Twist? You? How?" Adam just smiled and took the second tray from the maid droid and got back into bed with her. "That's top secret." She winked as she opened it carefully and read the first few words, then closed it and put it on the nightstand and turned to kiss him again. "I have to get you something. I have nothing planned. You can't just spring this on me like this. Hints. Not completely. Let's have a party. Opsnit's your wedding." "I need to give you something." She playfully bopped him. Adam gently put his hand on her tummy. "You already have." She stopped and just looked at him, falling even more in love than she could ever believe was possible. When they finally got up, they went for a walk. When the alarm beeped, they both sighed as they had told everybody to not contact them for at least 14 days unless it was very important. It was from a droid. The two droids they had reprogrammed into archaeologists could conclude that Dirt had a civilization 20,000 years ago. They sent the information to the administration and asked them to check if archaeologists were among the human colonists, offer them a job, and set up a department. Then they returned to their well-deserved honeymoon for about 16 hours before another message ticked in. The ship that had entered the system unannounced earlier had been scanned, and a drone had taken a sample of it for analysis. The ship was 21,000 years old. They sighed and were about to pass the information but stopped to check. It might have been returning home. Adam told them to dock it at a new hauler and have somebody work on it. He didn't want it on Dirt before it was cleared. Then they returned to the vacation for 23 hours, when a Sisya prince dropped by, hoping to meet the couple. Adam set them up at Sistan and told them to enjoy the facilities, but Adam would be busy for 2 weeks. The next day, a Wasir Duke arrived, and they both looked at each other. They set up the Duke and returned to their vacation for 3 lovely days when Rox contacted them. He had a slight problem with the Tufon's nobility. Adam was confused and asked what Tufon's nobility, only to discover that most kingdoms or unions had sent some diplomat or nobility to Dirt to wish them welcome into the high society of kingdoms and empires of the galaxy. Basically, they had come to witness his crowing, Rox explained. Adam looked at Evelyn and then they both cursed. There would be no honeymoon. Before we start, a quick reminder to hit the subscribe button.